All right. Thank you guys all for coming out here tonight in this nasty, dreary weather on a January Thursday night. Awesome crowd we have here, full crowd tonight for our Pickens County Sheriff Summit. Again, thank you guys for coming out here, and you could be sitting home watching TV doing something else, but you have an interest in our community and hearing what these candidates have to say. I'll share a little bit about our organization. We are the Pickens County Republican Club. So we're a group of conservatives here in Pickens County that has a goal of getting conservatives elected and then being a platform for candidates to come speak. So we host events like this all the time. We have a sign-in sheet over there for an email sign-up list. Only email you once or twice a month, so I promise not to bombard you. So please certainly sign up if you'd like to come to more of these in the future. Couple of housekeeping rules or housekeeping points down over here. We have our restrooms in the back and water fountain if you need to use those. Also, one of our ground rules for any type of events, always be civil. You know, you can say what you want to say, but of course there's children here. This is a church, so obviously keep your language to a minimum on that front. One other point, especially in this race, this is a group of police officers we have here. These are brave men that put themselves on the line, have put themselves on the line every day, and that in itself is worth their respect. So certainly keep that in mind whenever you hear these candidates speak. I'm going to open us up with a word of prayer, and then we'll get started. Dear Heavenly Father, God, thank you for allowing us to come here today and hear from these brave men, their message, their vision they have for us in Pickens County. God, thank you for allowing us to live in a nation where we can come and gather freely as people, as friends and family, to learn and hear from one another. God, be with us tonight. Have your will be done. It's through Jesus I pray. Amen. If you'll join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And then Rick Tate, our vice chairman, will do our Republican creed. He's going to borrow my mic.
This is a creed we need to hold all of our Republican elected officials and candidates to, I think. I do not choose to be a common man. It is my right to be uncommon. If I can seek opportunity, not security, I want to take the calculated risk to dream and build, to fail and to succeed. I refuse to barter incentive for dole. I prefer the challenges of life to guaranteed security, the thrill of fulfillment to the stale calm of utopia. I will not trade freedom for beneficence, nor my dignity for a handout. I will never cower before any master save my God. It is my heritage to stand erect, proud, and unafraid, to think and act for myself, enjoy the benefit of my creations, to face the whole world boldly and say, I am a free American.
Awesome. Thank you, Rick. So rules tonight. This is a little bit different than your traditional debate or forum. Each candidate's going to have 15 minutes, and they're free to use that time how they see fit. So they can come up here, and they may have 15 minutes they want to speak and just share their message with you. They may want to talk 5-10 minutes, and then take questions from the crowd. Rick's going to be walking around with a speaker, or a microphone, rather. So if you have a question, raise your hand. He'll come to you. Please be brief with your questions. We don't need to know your backstory about your cousin, mama, and brothers, and you know what I mean. So please try to be concise because we want to get to as many questions as possible, allow these candidates to have as much time as possible. And without further ado, we'll start with our first candidate. Actually, one more point for our candidates, our 2-minute warning right here, our gentleman, John Fazio. He's going to raise his hand when you have 2 minutes left on that time. So without further ado, we'll get started, and I believe David Harrison is our first candidate tonight. So I'll invite David up, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening. Can y'all hear me? Okay. Good to see everyone here. I can tell you, do I need a microphone?
I'll give you mine.
Can you hear me now? Okay, cool. I want to thank everyone for being here, regardless of which camp you're in or which side you're pulling for. It is so refreshing to see the citizens in Pickens County get involved in politics. versus complain about politics all the time. Last time that we ran back in 20, I was telling Rick Tate earlier, we didn't have this much involvement. So this is very refreshing, and this is very important to each and every candidate that's here tonight. And I'm sure they'll cover that as well. My name's David Harrison. For those that don't know, if you haven't heard me speak before, I'm going to touch and just highlight some of my background, my qualifications, and things like that, and then I want to take questions from the crowd. I like to have it interactive. I don't want to stand up here and drone on. And so, Mr. John, if you can give me maybe about the 8-minute mark, just kind of wave, and then I'll take the rest, the other half of the time, doing questions. I started my law enforcement career in 2000 with the South Carolina Highway Patrol. I was assigned to Oconee County, which is very similar to Pickens County, with the exception of, it's about 20 years behind Pickens County. But I loved it. It was great. We ended up combining counties with Pickens due to manpower issues, so I got to come back home and work, which was great. In 2004, I got selected to be on the criminal interdiction unit with the Highway Patrol. That meant we traveled around the state and we worked our major highways looking for major drug traffickers. I've done that the majority of my career. Fast forward to 2013, I got selected to be one of 7 canine handlers in the state with the Highway Patrol. I had 14 upstate counties that I would cover with my dog. Fast forward to 2017, I got a call from a good friend of mine who is now retired from the Greenville County Sheriff's Office, and he asked if I would come and help start up an interdiction unit with the Sheriff's Office in Greenville. So I did. That's where I'm at now. I've been there since 2017. January 9th, 2017 is my start date. I finally left interdiction after October of 2020. I lost one of my deputies in the line of duty, unfortunately. I do investigations now. Right now, what I'm doing for the county is I will investigate anything from a petty larceny up to an overdose death. The overdose death, that's the majority of what I do. They are killing us with those things. Fentanyl is wiping our citizens out. And it's not just in Greenville, it's here too. Some of the things I want to do, the reason I'm running for sheriff here, really hasn't changed much since 2020. I want to bring a level of proactiveness back here. Not to say that our uniformed deputies are not proactive, but I want to kick it up a notch. I've always gravitated towards guys and girls that are workers, hard chargers. That's me. I've shed blood, sweat, and tears for this profession. And I expect the same of others. I want to bring that proactiveness here, that training here. That way our citizens are visibly seeing our guys and girls out with their blue lights going. They're out in the communities, riding through. That's my job, help folks out. That'll be a day one, week one thing. I plan on, and I heard this last time, and I've heard it this time, well, you were a highway patrolman. We don't want somebody to come over here and just write tickets all the time. If you go back and look at my activity, my 17 years with the highway patrol, I didn't write a lot of tickets. I wrote a lot of warnings. I made a lot of traffic stops. Because folks riding by me in that traffic stop, they assume that person's getting a ticket, so they slow down. I plan on bringing some traffic enforcement back to Pickens County. Nothing crazy, maybe a 2 or 3 man unit, but to tackle some of these highways where we're having so many issues with bad driving. 183 comes to mind. It's a death trap. And I know the county secured some funds. They're fixing to do some a widening project and so on and so forth. But it still needs to be patrolled. That's a heavily traveled highway. 123 is another one. We have a ton of secondary roads. But every year in this county, we have more people that get killed in vehicle wrecks or vehicle crashes than homicides. And as a sheriff, my job is to protect life and property. It's a very basic responsibility. That's one of my ideas. The canines, great. I'm so glad Pickens County got them. That makes me happy. I see that they're being used. And so I'm going to move on to the next thing. John, where are we at? 4 seconds. Oh, wow. That's just a few of the things that I want to bring back. I want to take some questions. I know somebody in here has got to want to ask something, but I want to make it interactive. Again, I like to talk. I can stand up here and talk for 3 hours without skipping a beat, but I'm not going to do that to y'all. Jenny, I think I saw your hand first.
Jenny, hang on. I'll bring you the mic. If you don't have the mic, it won't be on the video. You won't be able to hear you on the video.
Fine with me. Thanks, Rick. I was very intrigued listening to the debate Tuesday night, hearing about the technology of Live 911. I'm not familiar with that. What are your opinions on Live 911, and do you have any experience with it?
Yes. So for those that don't know, Live 911 is basically a CAD system to where it adds GPS to deputies' vehicles. They do not have that right now, which is a huge officer safety concern for me. I've been working with a similar system for years. Dispatch, supervisors, the sheriff himself can look on the CAD system on the computer, and he knows where David Harrison's at 24 hours a day. That's one thing. That needs to be ASAP. Another thing that the Live 911 system provides is real-time information for officers, which is another officer safety issue. It needs to be. So basically what happens in real time, the officer can listen in on these 911 calls, just as the communications officers hearing it come in. And that they can already know what's going on. They can hear the fear in that caller's voice. They can hear the background noises. And that needs to be. It's a great system. And I am not a huge technology guy. I struggle with a smartphone. I'm very old school. But I know in law enforcement, we have to stay ahead of the curve. Body cameras, radars, blue lights. When I started, we had strobe lights. You couldn't see them. I don't know how we didn't get run over more. So the technology has to continue to progress. That is a great system. Yep.
Somebody else?
Up front.
Oh, okay.
Got a question. This is kind of coming from some of the guys that are working currently at the sheriff's office. They want to know who you're bringing in as chief deputy. What are you going to do? I know everybody's talking about bringing in new deputies, bringing more guys to the road, bringing this, but what are you going to do currently for the guys working the road now to make their lives and their work better? So yeah, just who you bringing on, and what are you going to do for these guys, and kind of what's your plan for the guys that are there now? Who's, because obviously new sheriff coming in, people are going to leave, people are going to quit, people are going to get fired.
Right.
Are your plans to clean house and do that, or are you going to give people opportunities to stay and prove that they should stay there?
Okay. That's a lot of questions. I'm going to try to hit them. So the question is who am I bringing in as, did you say chief? Chief? Okay. Short answer to that is I don't know. To add to that, I'll tell you why. I'm not the sheriff. I haven't been elected yet. My time is spent phone calls, text messages, emails, Facebook posts, meetings, you name it. When I'm not campaigning and politicking, I'm working. I worked third shift last night. I've had about 4 hours sleep today. So me trying to figure out who would be the chief deputy is a waste of time until it's official. And then I'll have some months to figure that out. But I can promise you I'm going to surround myself with the best person, okay? In-house or out. The second part of that is, what am I going to do for the folks that are working there now? Well, I know that propaganda gets spread around daily because I hear it. For the folks who are still working there, your job is safe. As I say this on camera, I have no plans to clean house. I can't run the agency by myself. I'm not taking 50 deputies from Greenville County because I don't think Hobart would like that very much. And I'm not stealing any from Chad either. We have got a great group of deputies. And I don't know what I did or said last time, but there's been a lot of hate come towards me from some of the deputies, and I have your best interest in mind. I'm not running for a title. I'm not running for a paycheck. I'm this close to retirement. I want to make this county safer. I just want to train you guys and motivate you guys and work with you guys, and I think that's part of it with your question, what am I going to do different? It's called be involved. I'm not going to set myself apart from you by wearing a suit. I feel ridiculous in this suit. I'm going to wear a uniform. I'm going to be in a marked vehicle. I'm going to be on the radio. Yes, I'm going to be in the office because I'll have admin duties to do, but you're going to see that involvement because that's all I know. Thank you for that question. I appreciate it. Anybody else?
Introduce yourself. And please, speak into the mic so the people watching the video later will hear the question.
First of all, thank you very much for your service, and each one of you. But this came up Tuesday night as I was speaking to some of you, and this is regarding drug trafficking.
We're at 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Drug trafficking is plain that the system is broken. You're locking the criminals up, the drug traffickers, the dealers that are putting the drugs on the street, but you're not keeping them in jail. They're playing, the lawyers and the judges are playing the buddy system. They're working out a system, postponing these trials, and it's just not working. I've had a front row seat to this for the past dozen years, and I've seen one individual in and out. His front yard was raided no less than 3 times. So I've seen this in action. So this is what I believe you guys call the catch and release, but I've seen more release. So how are we going to fix a broken system?
That's a very good question, and that's come up multiple times during talks that I've done. Senator Rex Rice was at one of those talks, and I passed the buck to him. I don't know if we know it or not, but in South Carolina, senators appoint magistrates. And sometimes it is done through the buddy system. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. That's the problem we have in this state. When we have an issue with a judge, the best thing to do is find out which senator appointed that judge and go have a nice sit down and talk with them. There's also court administration in South Carolina. And I think it's important for a sheriff, chief, colonel, whomever, who's over law enforcement agencies, to meet with the court administration. When there are issues and they're over and over and over, it's time to sit down and stop it, figure it out. I know a lot of friends personally who have been injured severely and or killed in the line of duty, and then you find out the person who done it has a criminal history as tall as I am. That's a problem. But we can only catch the fish, so to speak. We're not the ones who clean it. It's up to the judicial system to do that. And in this state, we fall short, unfortunately. Thank you for your question. Thank y'all. Can I say thanks?
You absolutely
I know
can.
I'm over.
We're not gonna go that
Okay.
far on you.
Thank y'all again for being here. It is so nice to see the involvement. If anyone ever needs anything, I'm very easy to find. Reach out. I love to talk. Just make sure you set enough time aside to talk to me. Thank y'all.
Thank you, David. Thank you. John, I think this one's down a little bit. If you can turn the green one up a little bit. Green mic. All right. Time for number 2 on the list. And I
Well,
don't
turn
remember-
me up a little bit too, John.
There we go. I've already forgot. My last name's Counts, and I've already forgot the count, so. Here you go, Mr. Hubbard.
Testing.
Ready to roll.
Can I say something before you start?
You're
Watch,
right ahead.
watch on the timer. Just so y'all know before I forget, I hadn't said it yet, but need to. This video will be available online at pickenscountytownhall.com. pickenscountytownhall.com. It's a YouTube video. You'll be able to share it with your friends. Take the link and put it in an email. Share it on Facebook, wherever you want to. So just wanted to make sure people knew where to find the video and share it around for you guys. Excuse my interrupting you. I just wanted to make sure we told folks that before we forgot.
Thank you. I appreciate you doing that. We want everybody to see this. My name is Damon Huber. I've lived in Pickens County for the last 33 to 34 years. I raised my family in Pickens County. All my kids graduated from Easley High School. And I'm going to mention my wife right now because I promise you I forget to mention her at a couple of these things already. And I've been paying the price for it, to be honest with you. But my beautiful wife, Val, is in the back of the room. Val, would you like to stand? I'm going to put you on the spot. But she has given me a hard time because, honestly, by the time I get to her, it seems like my time is up, and I don't have time to introduce her. So I want to get that out of the way right now so I can go home and get some peace tonight. I started my law enforcement career. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I started my career back in 1992 as a reserve deputy in Greenville County Sheriff's Office. I volunteered my time for a year as a reserve deputy. And from that point, I put an application in and I went full-time in 1993. In 93, I was a deputy on the road. I answered calls for service. I worked with other deputies and learned a lot. There's a lot of evil. It doesn't matter, no matter where you are, there's a lot of evil everywhere. So I ran into a lot of bad guys, put a lot of bad guys in jail, and fortunately survived it. Throughout my career, I put in for promotions, started putting in for promotions, and got promoted to master deputy. When I was a master deputy, I was responsible for training and all the other responsibilities that a deputy has, answering calls for service, writing reports, deterring, detecting crime, and those kind of things, and traffic violations. You kind of do everything as a deputy sheriff in a county. And I did that for a few years, and then I decided, you know what, I'm going to put my name in a hat and see if I can get promoted to sergeant. So I did, and got promoted, and I ended up being on the road and had about 12 guys that worked with me daily whenever we worked. And during that time, even as a supervisor, you have responsibility as far as paperwork and payroll and those kind of things, but I didn't want to lose touch with the deputies, so I continued to answer calls with the deputies. I stayed out there with them, and I was in the trenches with them day in and day out, and night in and night out. I continued to do that job. After that, you're appointed. From that point on, you're appointed up through the ranks by the sheriff, lieutenant and above. The sheriff decided to promote me to lieutenant, and he put me over Charlie platoon. At that time, I had about 34 deputies that I worked with every day. I had to start learning my management skills. I had to start doing more of the management stuff. There's a lot to take care of, the equipment, the cars, the radios, the guns. You have to keep up with everything. And I did that for about 18 months. But I promise you, during that 18 months that I was with Charlie Platoon, I was answering calls for service. I never stopped doing that throughout my whole career. 18 months into it, I get a call from the sheriff, and the sheriff asked me if I would take on another position. And when he asked me to take on this position, it was getting promoted to captain. It took me back a minute, and it took me 7 days. I thought about it, and I prayed about it, and I talked about it with my wife and my family before I even gave him the answer on whether or not I'd take his offer, a generous offer. And I hated to put him off for 7 days, but I did because I love what I was doing. Uniform patrol was my passion. I love every minute of what I do in uniform patrol, and I didn't want to leave it. I had a great group of guys I was working with. So I ended up taking the position. I got promoted to captain, and I was appointed director over emergency management. I was over emergency management for the next 5 years of my career, and I missed the road. I missed all the guys out there that I worked with. I missed everything that I did on the road. But taking on that position honestly set me up to be where I am now in front of you guys. as emergency management director, my responsibility grew tremendously. I was responsible for 600,000 people every single day of my life for 5 years. It didn't matter if I was on duty or off duty. If something happened in Greenville County, I had to respond, and I did a lot. I went through 2 tornadoes in Greenville County. One was in Simpsonville and one was at Lake Lanier. I'm sure y'all remember that. I also got a call from Pickens County Director Denise when the Pinnacle Mountain Fire. Y'all had that a few years ago. I can't remember exact years because I'm a little bit old. But I did send a crew up here for 2 weeks, and I came up and we assisted for about 2 weeks to get that fire under control and help her out with that because it was a major. I don't know if all y'all remember that Pinnacle Mountain Fire, I'm sure. But did any of y'all end up going there? If you did, you saw what I saw. It was bad. I mean, there were several acres burning every day up there, and we were trying to stop it from spreading, and we finally got it under control. But not only that, just working with other first responders, I learned a lot about that. It's very important. I don't care if you're in a city, county, state, what position you're in. If you don't get along with the other folks that you're going to be responding with, then you're not going to be doing everything you can do to keep your citizens safe. And what I mean by that is when I would respond to anything in Greenville, if it was with fire, EMS, the nonprofits, if it's Red Cross, it didn't matter who it was, I knew people by their names, and I knew what those people were responsible for. So that really means a lot when you have a major disaster going on. Flooding was a big problem in Greenville County. I got a call one night. We were flooding in Greenville. I had to go in, and we lost 2 citizens that night. They got swept away by the water and went through a drain pipe, and it took us 1 day to find the young lady, and it took us about 2 more days to find the gentleman. And it was sad that happened to them. But it's a part of, it's my job. You have to go out and take care of those things. That's what you sign up for. So just going through all that and learning everything I did, I promise you, it has, like I said, it's set me up to be in front of you now. I feel like that prepared me probably more than about anything else other than my next position that I was appointed to. But it really taught me a lot about working with others, not just other folks, but everybody that helps in a moment of crisis. So my next position that I got appointed to was major. When Hobart Lewis got elected in Greenville County, he asked me if I would take that role on, and I did. I did it for 3 years. I was over uniform patrol. I was over operations. I had uniform patrol, and I had dispatch under my control. I had about 250 employees in those 2 areas that I was responsible for. And as a major, again, I still was answering calls for service. I would go out and back up guys when I could, and I would stop cars. I would do the things that deputies normally do, and I enjoyed every minute of it until I got a call from Hobart. He asked me to meet him in his office about a year, about a year and a half into it. He asked me to meet him in his office, so I did. And when I went in and sat down in his office, he looked at me and he said, "Damon," he said, "I love you to death." He said, "I brought you back to be a major." He said, "You're doing a good job." He said, "But you're a major." He said, "You cannot go out and do what you used to do prior to getting this appointment." He said, your responsibility is more in the office than it is out there on the streets with the guys. So I had to slow it down a little bit and kind of back up a little bit. And it was tough to hear that. But he was right. I know I had a responsibility. I had a lot on my plate that I had to do, and he wanted me to get my things done. One of the things that I did when I was major is I transitioned the whole agency from one gun to another. We decided that a 9mm was better than the Glock 45. So Hobart came to me and asked me if I would take on that assignment and transition the sheriff's office. And I agreed to do it, but I wanted to do it my way, so he let me have it. what I did is I went to our guy who was over our guns, seized guns, and I knew we had sold guns in the past, but they had kind of gotten away from it. So I wanted to get that going again to see what kind of money we could generate. Well, we generated over $300,000 from the sales of these seized guns. Have been sitting down there for years and collecting dust. And we used that money to transition the entire agency over to the 9mm Glock. And it didn't cost the taxpayers a dime. It didn't cost Hobart a dime. We did that without charge. It didn't cost anybody a penny. We did every single bit of that from that gun sale. So that's one of the things that I did. I found another way to do it. He was going to give me the money. We were going to get the money from the county to transition. It was already approved that we could get it, but I wanted to try something else. And when I did, I was amazed that it worked out as well as it did, to be honest with you. I was very pleased with that. But just being in all these positions and doing everything that I've done, I have done everything across the board. There's probably some things that I haven't seen, I haven't done, but it can't be too much. Being in the positions that I have been in and being in the situations that I've been in throughout 29 years of my career, I have seen a lot, I have done a lot, and I feel like I must have done something right along the way because I worked for 5 sheriffs. And with those 5 sheriffs that I worked with for all these years, 4 of the 5 were the ones that promoted me up through the ranks all the way till I ended up being major over operations before I left. And I left in February last year. I don't mind telling you, I left last year in February to run my campaign here because I love this county. Like I say, I prayed about it, I talked to my wife about it, and we decided together that this is what I was going to do because I love being here. I love the county, the agency. You know, there's great guys there at Pickens County. I think we can just make a few little tweaks or changes, and I think we can make it a little bit better. You know, make some improvements and do things a little bit better. I've got my ideas, they have theirs. But if I get elected, I will start putting things in place and start making improvements. And what I will do is ask them to give me weekly reports on the improvements that we're making. Give me a status report of what's going on. What are we doing? What, does it look like we're going in the right direction? And if we don't, guess what? I will ask them, tell me to my face, what do we need to do? Let's work it together. You know, you're my command staff. You're the chief deputy. You're the 4 captains that work this with me. We're going to come up with an idea. We're going to come up with plans that's going to make this county safer. We got to work on the school safety. I was in school enforcement for about 5 years. I was supervisor over at schools for 5 years. And I did what I call risk assessments. I went into the schools and I would try to figure out where the weak points were. What are they not doing? I found one school one day, the teachers were propping the door open so they could go out and smoke cigarettes. They had a key. They didn't have the old card, the swipe card. So they were propping the door open with rocks. And within 2 hours, I called the deputy superintendent. Deputy superintendent had them out there putting swipe card readers up for me. So that school was not unsecure. It was very dangerous for that principal to do that. And we stood there and argued about it for probably about 10 minutes. And I finally just walked out and called the deputy superintendent. 2 hours later, they were putting those swipe cards in that school. And they were told to keep those doors locked. But those are some of the things that I want to do and I want to improve in the county. There's a lot more than that because there's not enough time for me to tell you everything that I want to do. But our school safety is huge for me. And taking care of the deputies at the sheriff's office is huge for me. Real quick, I know we only got a couple of minutes. Is there any questions that you guys have for me? Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
I'm headed that way. And you were in front of me. If there was somebody else threw their hand up behind me, I'm sorry.
So we're at 1 minute right now. So same question and then.
Same question. Who you bringing on as chief deputy, command staff, and what's your plan to with the guys that are there, and how are you going to help them out and make it better for them?
The chief deputy is sitting right there unless he gets elected. He's going to be the chief deputy. I'm going to get in the office and figure out what these guys are doing. I am going to evaluate everybody, starting with the command staff. But I'm going to do evaluations on everybody when I get in there, and I know how to do it. I've been doing it for years. I know how to make sure people are doing what they need to do. But no, these guys are all safe. They're all going to work with me, and I'm hoping we can work together and build a great relationship. I know them fairly well. We've met recently through this, and I know Chuck, and I've known Tommy for a while through this. But I want to work with those guys. I don't want to push anybody out of their job. You know what? I worked 29 years to earn my promotions and get where I am, where I got in my career. Who am I to take that away from them? But now if I get in there and we're not doing what we need to be doing, then that's when I'll decide what changes I need to make. And I will make the appropriate changes to correct the problem if there's a problem. Man, that was quick.
That's all she wrote. It goes by quick, doesn't it?
That's quick.
Good job, good job. All right, so I didn't have to ask. And I want to let you guys know before we get started, these are excellent questions, by the way. I've been doing this a long time, and very good questions. Thank you guys for being involved. So this is Michael Tickner.
It's going to feel like I'm talking fast. It's because I am. I know how long it's going to take. I'd like to start by introducing my family. This is my sweet wife. We'll be married 23 years this year. I have a son, Toby, Liberty High School, daughter, Natalie, Liberty Middle School, son, Samuel, Liberty Little School, and so I've got him in all the schools. Just a little bit about myself. I was born in 1997 in South Carolina. I graduated from Easley High School in 1995. Out of high school, I joined the Marine Corps, graduated from Parris Island. After that, I worked for a few years in factories before I started working for the Liberty Police Department in 2006. And while I was at the police department, people have asked, how do you go from being a police officer to being a pastor? Very, very simply, when you are y'all, you see people leave this world once every 3 years, possibly. When you're a police officer, you see them leave this world sometimes 2 a night. And I felt like, gosh, I've got to switch. I got to be a pastor. I've got to reach these people because we're leaving this world you're just seeing it more and more as a police officer. And so I left to be a pastor and went to college in Kentucky. And when I left, I never thought I would do this again. I thought, that's it. Hang that badge up, hang the gun up, I'm done. But as God would have it, I ended up back here, and I started working for the Pickens County Sheriff's Office. And when I determined, and I work right now for the Oconee County Sheriff's Office, and when I determined to run for sheriff, I decided to pursue a master's degree because I wanted to make sure when I get this job that I can do this job. And so I went and got a Master's of Science in Criminal Justice Policy and Leadership. And I want to share a couple things that happened along the way, and I'll tell you why I'm sharing it. When I was in the Marine Corps, I was meritoriously promoted. When I went to my first college, I graduated on the president's list for grades and was voted student body president. When I went to Police Academy, I've won the Physical Fitness Award and the J.P. Strom Award, which is the GPA, highest GPA award. And when I got my master's degree, I had all A's and was invited to the National Honor Society. And I mention all of that extra stuff to show, and I want you guys to know, that my life is a pattern of trying to excel. I want to do not good, I want to do the best. And that's exactly what I would want to bring to the sheriff's office is I'm not going to do it good. I want to do it the best and to do it well. And that brings me to my reason for running. When I worked for Pickens County Sheriff's Office, I had already been a police officer, so I'm riding around with these guys and they're telling me what to do. I've done it. And so I'm just getting to know them, getting to like them, getting to hear their stories and stuff. But I noticed there were people there that were just doing enough to get by. They were just meeting expectations. They weren't exceeding expectations. And I'm not talking about anybody that's coming up on this stage. Every one of these guys has been excelling and doing the best they can since they started. I appreciate every single one of these guys. But there was enough at the sheriff's office to where I felt some kind of way like, we got to fix this. We got to start getting better and doing better to where people say, when they talk about Pickens County Sheriff's Office, they went above and beyond what I thought that they would do. Not they did what I thought they would do. I didn't expect them to do that also. And part of the way that I will accomplish that, one of the things that will happen, and this isn't a campaign promise. When I was a pastor, I did this. I will eat with the guys. I eat lunch 365 days a year. I eat breakfast 365 days a year. When I'm the sheriff, one of the people from the sheriff's office, from the dispatchers to the jail to the road to any of them, one of them is going to be sitting across from me at lunch. And I'm going to learn these guys. And the reason that I would do that is because as I've worked, when I know the boss cares about me and likes me and wants good for me, I want to do the same for them. And so that's one thing that I would do to reach that excellence. So my slogan that I prayed about, I thought about it, is that I'll be a sheriff for the people. And the reason I picked that is because I am uniquely different than the other ones that are standing up here. This is the job that they've always had. They've always been a police officer. I'm proud of them, and I love it, and that's great. But I've got to show how I'm different, and so that's why I chose a slogan, to show how I'm different. And so how I'm different is this. I believe if the only job you've ever had as an adult is police officer or corrections, it gives you a limited perspective of people, because police officers always just see people most often on their worst days. Car accident, they've committed a crime and need to go to jail, they've been in a fight with their spouse. And when that's all you ever see, when you are making decisions as a sheriff, that's the perspective you're thinking of. And it's not bad that they've always done that. I mean, that's just part of the job. But it does affect how you make decisions. Me, I've done a lot of things as an adult. I've worked at factories. I've worked at BMW. I've worked at Hitachi. I've worked third shift. I've worked with all ages of people, all types of people. I've been there with them. I have gotten tickets probably as many as I've given, because I don't give a lot of tickets either. But I've also got some tickets. I got tickets as a police officer, and my family can attest to this. If you pull me over, you will not know I'm a police officer. I don't have a thin blue line. My ring's all black. You don't know I'm a police officer. And it's because I want to get what you're getting. I want to know how they're treating you. And 183 is where I got one of my tickets. So I learned a hard lesson that day. And it was a trooper. And my poor family had to see that. But I've gotten tickets. I've given tickets. I've had stuff stolen from me. I've looked for people stolen stuff. I've got people that I love and care about right now that are addicted to drugs. I've taken people to jail that are addicted to drugs. I understand people and see situations from many different perspectives, and I believe that will help me to be a well-rounded sheriff, a sheriff who feels and understands like the people he serves. I know that a lot of this is about the law, but I know the law, and I have the schooling to prove that I know the law. But there's so much more to being sheriff than simply knowing the law. We work with and we work for the people, and so that's where the slogan comes from. And the next part of this is I'm going to share 4 things that you can expect to see happen when I'm the sheriff. This is what, if I get to be the sheriff, you can pull up the camera and he said this is going to happen. This is what's going to happen. We're going to get to the root, and I'm saying that specifically, of our drug problem. Most of the drug problems, of the problems that you see in Pickens County, are directly related to drugs. Fights, thefts, domestic violence, drug overdose deaths. You get hit, they ain't got insurance. Most often that comes back to drugs. Yes, I will put leadership in place that will bring burning heat to the drug world. And the reason for that is this. Like I mentioned it the other night, the personality that it's going to take to really nail our drug problem is probably going to be a personality that doesn't sit well with a lot of people, but it's what it's going to take. And I plan on doing that. And the reason that I plan on doing that is right now at the Oconee County Sheriff's Office, I'm the sergeant over the sex offender registry. I worked that job, and they all come in at a specific time. They always have come in at a specific time. One morning I came in early. I was like, you're here? Oh, well, come on back. I'll just take you back early. Next week, 3 people are there early. Next week, more people are there early. That's because they talk to each other. They're like, dude's letting us in early. Drug dealers talk the same way. This is what's happening. They're letting us do this, or they're allowing this. And I want drug dealers to be telling each other, you should avoid that place. They are relentless. I want there to be, where there would be 7, now there's 4, next week there's 3, because they're talking, this isn't the spot for you. But the adults are not the root of the problem, and I'll explain what I'm saying. It's like if you go to a forest. If you go to a forest by yourself and you cut down a tree, and then tomorrow you cut down a tree, when you cut down trees, other trees grow. Forests are huge, and that's what's happening in Pickens County. Our drug guys are chopping down trees. They're chopping down drug dealers. They're doing it. They're nailing it, and they're putting people in jail, and they're chopping down trees. But in Pickens County, it seems like the more you chop down, the more they spring up. And it's because the statistics show that 12 to 14-year-olds are where drug use and drug abuse normally starts. And so it starts with the kids. And so I will work to get a DARE Plus style program into our public schools. And I believe that I'm the guy to get it done because I've been an SRO in Pickens County Public Schools for 6 years, 4 years at Liberty, 2 years at Daniel. The administrators that I worked with are at the district now. So they know me. They know who I am, what I'm about, and I feel like I could work with them to get us into schools. And I've taught DARE. I've taught DARE for 2 years. I've taught over 100 classes. And what I mean by DARE Plus is DARE, if you read it, because I've taught it, it's a little old. But I would update that. With the kids, I would update it to what's happening right now. I see what's written on the paper. I know what they're trying to say, and then I would update it. Like letting kids know, and this is a real thing. They think, I just have to avoid taking fentanyl. If somebody says, here's fentanyl, I'll just not do that. Or if they say, here's meth, I'll just not do that. But something that's happening is they're pressing pills, and fentanyl's cheap. And so you're buying a Xanax, which is expensive, and that's supposed to help you study, or you're doing it to do that. But the drug dealers have pressed in a little fentanyl to make it big enough to where you'll think you got a whole Xanax. And that's how you end up dying. You think all these fentanyl deaths are because people thought they were taking fentanyl. And you let the kids know that. If you're taking something from somebody, you don't know what's in that, and it could be what could kill you. But that's what I'm talking about when I say DARE Plus is getting it up to date. And I ended up having, when I did DARE, I wrote a vape curriculum myself to try to catch up, because they're talking about cigarettes like the kids are getting packs of cigarettes, which is not what's happening. The next thing that will happen when I'm the sheriff is we'll be getting our officers in acceptable physical condition where they're physically able to do the job that they were paid to do. When I started originally, this is how it sounded on the radio. They would say, the guy has gone 10-0, or he has bush bonded, which means he has run off. I'm trying to pull him over, or I'm trying to take him to jail, and he has run off. And then you would hear, I'm 10-0 after him. I'm 10-0 on foot. That was 2006. I come back, and they're bush bonded, they're 10-0, and then what you hear on the radio is, I'm setting up a perimeter. What that means is they're going to stand there and allow them to run off, but they'll make sure that as far as I can see, he's not going to go past me. They set up a perimeter. I was shocked when I heard that. But that's what's happening is some officers, not all, but some are not physically capable, and they know it. I can't chase that guy. They saw him, and they didn't finish chasing him because they knew that they couldn't. How many? All right. So anyway, you expect the deputy that's dispatched to your call will be able to physically help you resolve the call, and I'm going to make sure that that's the case. A lot of times when those calls happen, you can't just shoot everybody. because you can't physically fight them. If they have no reason for you to bring out your gun, you're going to have to physically make it happen, and I want to make sure that that's happening. And I will hold them accountable to be physically prepared to do their job to the point of potentially letting them go if they can't. Promotions and leadership. Basically, what I'm going to do when it comes to promotions and leadership is it all comes from when I was wanting to be in narcotics. I've always wanted to be in narcotics my whole life. Everywhere I've gone, I've tried to be in narcotics. The last interview I sat in to try to be in narcotics, I didn't get it. I went to the exit interview, and here's what they said. They said, you didn't have certain classes, and so you can't have this job. And I explained to them the classes that they were asking me to have, they have to send me to those classes. And I said, you tell me I need these classes, but you have to send me. You won't send me, so I can't have this job ever. When I'm the sheriff, when you are a deputy, you are going to write down what you want to do, your goal, where you want to be. The training officer is going to see that you get to the classes to get to where you're wanting to be. So you don't sit like me every time wanting to be in narcotics and told you don't got the training, even though it was our responsibility to see that you got it, and we just didn't do it, and we hold you accountable for it. And so we're going to give them the opportunity to take some control of their career. And as a sheriff, when I'm sitting down with them for breakfast or lunch, I'll let them know if you're not doing what you need to do to get there, I'll say, hey, listen, you're not meeting expectations. I saw what you wrote on your paper. It'll never happen unless you pick it up here or do this better. Thank you, guys. I had one other really cool thing to say.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you. Thank you. All right, time for number 4, Mr. Chuck James.
Thank you, Clay. I'd like to begin kind of reiterating what David said. I think this is important for all of us to stand up here, share our vision for Pickens County, but I think what's most important in this entire process is the interest that y'all take in this, because this is an important topic. And I think, again, like I said the other night, I think this is a testament to the strength of Pickens County. The fact that so many people would show up tonight on a Thursday night when there's plenty of other things we could all be doing to listen to the 5 of us drone on about our vision for Pickens County. As Clay said, my name's Chuck James. I'm the Chief Deputy of the Pickens County Sheriff's Office. I've been in law enforcement now for 19 years, the last 17 of which have been right here in Pickens County. I didn't choose to come to Pickens County merely because the opportunity to be a sheriff presented itself. I chose to come to Pickens County 17 years ago because I love this county. I joined this county and I determined this county is worthy of my service 17 years ago. So the office of sheriff is not what's appealed to me. It's my love for the men and women, particularly the deputies that are here. But just to give you a little bit of my background, I grew up the son of 2 retired United States Army soldiers. My mom, who's seated in the back, is a retired major. She was in the Nurse Corps. My father, who's not here, was a retired sergeant. He was a military police officer, which probably was the catalyst for me wanting to be a cop in the first place. But I think that's important because it speaks to the sense of duty that was instilled in me at a very young age. My parents taught me that we had to be committed to something more than ourselves. Service above self. So as a child, I moved all over the place. Lived in New York, Germany, Georgia, Germany, Kentucky, Illinois, Ohio, and ultimately At 18 years of age, I went to college out in Nebraska. I obtained a bachelor's degree in political science and a bachelor's degree in history. After graduation, I really wasn't sure what I was going to do, and joined the Nebraska Department of Corrections as a corrections officer. I don't know if anybody in here has ever worked in corrections or detention, but it's probably the most eye-opening experience that you can have. There is no level of education that you can get anywhere in the world that is better than inside a jail or a prison. But my dream wasn't always to be a detention officer. I wanted to be a cop. So in 2005, I moved from Nebraska to Charleston, South Carolina, where I joined the Charleston Police Department as a patrol officer assigned to the West Ashley District of the city of Charleston. In my first full year there, I was selected as the city's Officer of the Year. While there, I met a girl from Liberty, South Carolina, who insisted that I move to the upstate and follow her, which is how I found my way here. So in 2007, I began looking for agencies to join. Initially, I was drawn to the Greenville County Sheriff's Office. I was used to a large agency. I wanted to be a part of a large agency. However, it was really the reputation of the legendary Sheriff C. David Stone that drew me to Pickens. So in 2007, I joined the Pickens County Sheriff's Office as a deputy. I worked an additional 4 years on patrol before fulfilling my dream, which was always to be a detective. 2011, I joined the detective division of the Pickens County Sheriff's Office and began immediately trying to take on every major crime I could. And over the course of my career, I've had an opportunity to investigate everything from simple larcenies to homicides. I've probably investigated, been a part of 30 or 40 homicide investigations during the course of my career. I promoted through the ranks from detective to sergeant to eventually lieutenant over our general investigations unit. While there, I set up our first digital forensics investigations, which is basically downloading cell phones. And in 2019, I promoted to captain of the detective division in the Pickens County Sheriff's Office, which basically covered everything from general investigations, special victims, forensics, school resource officers, community action team, animal enforcement, narcotics. And in 2022, I assumed the role of Chief Deputy of the Pickens County Sheriff's Office, which is where I am right now. In that capacity, I lead 192 employees and manage a $17.7 million budget. Each step along the way forged me into the leader I am today, but more importantly, each step of the way taught me how to be a sheriff. Each step of the way taught me the skills that I needed to take the next step in my career. So today I stand before you as a candidate for sheriff. And the reason I'm running is I think, and there will be much made of this, there has been much made of this, that a sheriff doesn't necessarily need experience. They can learn on the fly. We've seen the consequences of that. We saw the consequences of that in Greenville in 2016 when Will Lewis got elected. But I think it's important that a sheriff have executive experience, budget experience, and have a strategic vision for the future. But I also think it's important that they be able to deliver results. Just to give a little background, since I was made chief deputy in 2022, one of the first things that I did was I restructured our uniform patrol. Before we had a Fox team and we had a Cat team, I dismantled the Fox team and put them on patrol and added 2 guys from the community action team onto patrol as well, so that we could cover patrol during peak hours to ensure that we were maximizing our efficiency. And that wasn't just me. That was something that I worked with Captain Tumberland, who's seated in the back, to do. The next thing we did is, and David was right, We needed canines, but the idea of canines isn't a novel idea. It's not something that's unique. It's something that law enforcement has needed for a long time. So we began the expansion of our canine program. So how did we do that? Well, we've since gone from 1 canine to 7, 2 of which are bloodhounds, and we can cover the county 365 days a year, 24 hours a day, covering every corner of this county. And we paid for that at no cost to the taxpayer. It was paid for with a 501c3, as well as your local drug dealer paid for that through asset forfeiture funds. And then the last thing, which is probably the most recent development, which is new technology. You know, Live 911 had come up. I had brought that up the other day. ALPRs are a powerful tool as well. I think they maximize efficiency. They're a force multiplier for our deputies. But how this has culminated is this has culminated in Pickens County experiencing in a 1-year process the second largest reduction in property crime in the state. We've experienced a 20% reduction in property crime over the course of 1 year. We've also have the 3rd lowest violent crime rate now. Statistically, if you take Pickens County is compared to Greenville, Oconee, and Anderson, of the 19 statistical categories, Pickens County is per capita has the lowest crime rate in 13 of the 19 categories. That's effectiveness. And that's why I'm running for sheriff, because that's real results. That's not campaign promises. That's not tough talk. That's real results. And that's what Pickens County needs, because we're on the precipice of a crisis. We're on a growth crisis. Pickens County is growing, and real-world problems are coming to our doorstep. And we have to have a leader that has a plan and is prepared to attack those problems. You know, I'm not going to make you any promises I can't make. And I'll go back to what I said on Tuesday night. I think what we need to do, or the commitment that I'll make actually, the commitment that I will make is I will continue to make Pickens County the least hospitable environment for crime to exist. I think the results play out for themselves. I will continue to invest in our deputies and give them the tools, resources, and support necessary to do their job. And I will continue to fight to put deputies on the streets of Pickens County. I'd be happy to take any questions. Yes.
Somebody? Let's let somebody else go this time. That's 2 in a row. Anybody else besides Jenny and this guy? Sorry, Jenny. Here you go, Matt.
Thank you, Matthew Kudalek. I got a question for you, and it's for Tommy also. So out of all the candidates, and obviously everyone here appreciates your service in law enforcement, only 2 of the candidates have served a majority of their entire career in Pickens County. So what differentiates you and Tommy from the other candidates? What benefit would that be if you were to be elected sheriff, and how could you implement that over the course of your tenure?
Yeah, I think that's an important point, and I think that's something Tommy and I both share. You know, I think what it gives us is a knowledge of the community that we're serving. You know, aside from just living in a community, the ability to patrol and us to interact with it from the law enforcement standpoint gives us an idea of the problems in each one of the respective communities, whether that be the Griffin community, whether that be the Ariel community where we are now, whether that be Katichi, Norris. I think that gives us an understanding of those places because we have the experience here at the Pickens County Sheriff's Office. But more importantly, I think it also gives us a history with the stakeholders in this community. I think there's that built-in trust that Tommy and I would both have. So I think that's where that would be beneficial.
Anybody else?
Hey, Justin Durham, and to echo what Matthew Kudalek said, thank you for your service, each one of you that are here. A quick question about, you mentioned budgets. You've dealt with the budgets.
Yes, sir.
I work in business. I know what budgets are all about, too, and I'm just curious from a standpoint of getting funding for some of the things you'd like to bring along. I heard Live 911 mentioned. What are some ideas that you have for trimming the budget? and bringing those things to Pickens County without necessarily passing that along to the taxpayer?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's opportunities, obviously, from a council standpoint, to fund certain things too. I mean, the other night I brought up the idea of impact fees. We have rapid growth taking place in this county, and I think what we could do is utilize impact fees to fund a lot of the issues that we presently have. Trimming the budget, like I said, we return money to the budget every year. We run a line item budget. So obviously there's things where there is money allocated for certain things that at the end of the year, if that money has not been used, because unfortunately, just so you guys know, the budget doesn't work as a pool of money. It works as a series of line items that we have to pre-fund at the start of the year. And unfortunately, if we're going to transfer money from one thing to another, we're not going to be able to just make that transfer without the approval of county council or the county administrator. Because quite frankly, that came up the other night. Some people inquired about, well, why didn't we just give that money to the deputies? And quite frankly, I would love nothing more than to have given all that money to our deputies, because I think they deserve it. And I want to actually jump on this point real quick. I think one of the biggest issues also facing the Pickens County Sheriff's Office, and this touches on the budget, is compensation for our deputies. We have a serious issue with the compensation for our deputies. Right now, a deputy with the Pickens County Sheriff's Office who might have 18 years with the Pickens County Sheriff's Office could theoretically go to Greenville and make $15,000 more. That's a problem, and that is something that we have to get rectified. And so if elected, I'm going to fight for that.
Do we have time for another question, Clay?
18 seconds.
I don't think 18 seconds will do it.
Any last thoughts, Chuck?
No, I just want to say thank you seriously to all of you. Again, this is an important process. I thank you guys. Please, do your due diligence, learn about each one of the candidates. You have 5 good candidates here. We all bring our own, our own talents and our own skills. But thank you very much.
Thank you, Chuck. Thank you. All right, and number 5, I think that leaves Tommy Blankenship. There you go, Tom.
Appreciate it. All right, so I get to go last. I'm not sure if that's good or not. I'll go ahead and warn you, that means you can't leave till I'm finished, whether or not that alarm goes off. Real quick, given 15 minutes, I didn't realize that part of that 15 minutes was going to be a question section, so I know there's at least one for me already. So I'll make sure that I'm diligent with my time to give you guys that. With that being said, I had a plan to tell you a lot about my history. Don't have time for that. Look to Facebook. I'll make a video. I also see a lot of faces that were here, were in Liberty on Tuesday night. So I'm not going to chew my cud twice and tell you all the same stuff that I talked about that night. So I'm not going to waste time talking about my history or the same things. I want to move forward at this moment and talk about what I want to do moving forward with the Pickens County Sheriff's Office. There's always a lot of questions about what are you going to do your first day in, your first weekend, your first 6 months in. And I've actually got a plan of what I want to do, and it's going to sound very different than what you will hear many leaders say. The very first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to pray. And there's 3 specific things that I want to pray for. First, that God will use me, that He will find a way to work through me to make our community safer and to make Pickens County Sheriff's Office somewhere that every single person that comes to work loves to come to work. Absolutely loves to walk through those doors. Secondly, I'm going to pray that those men and women are protected by His hand. Because the greatest fear that I have is that I would lose one of them. I've been on the SWAT team for somewhere around 16 years, and I love being the first guy through the door. That's who I am. But the reason I love being the first guy through the door is because I feel like it gives me some ownership over everybody behind me. The most scared I've ever been in my life was when I became the commander or deputy commander. And I was the only commander on scene, and I did an ops plan, and I had to send men that I love into harm's way. And I've never been more scared. So that will be my second prayer. My third prayer will be that God will make me worthy to serve you. That God will make me worthy to be of service to you. I'm a culture guy. That's what I want to bring to Pickens County Sheriff's Office. Because you can throw money at programs. You can have 30 dogs. You can have 600 officers. You can have all the new technologies. You can have the fittest cops in the world. But if they don't love their community, and they don't love coming to work, and they don't have a heart of service that follows their commander, then it's all for naught. And it will all fail. It will not be successful. So the second thing after I pray is command staff assignments. And I'm going to answer your question before you ask. I'm not going to tell you. And the people that are going to be on my command staff, they don't know. Because I don't want anyone being comfortable in their position. I want every day they come to work, they're excited to come, they're full of energy, and they're scared to death I'm going to demote them. Because that'll make them work hard. Because that's how I've worked my entire career. I've spent my entire career so hard on myself that I was convinced if I didn't give my best, like you talked about, Mike, that I was undeserving of that job, and they're going to get rid of me. But that will take place in that first week. And then the last thing I want to talk about, because I want to give you ample time to ask questions, and this will take a minute, is we're going to rewrite the Pickens County Sheriff's Office mission statement. Has anyone here ever read it? Not many. Well, I just so happen to have it right here. It says, our mission, it is the mission of the Pickens County Sheriff's Office to serve all persons within our jurisdiction by providing fair, efficient, impartial law enforcement to perform our duties with respect and compassion. Our commitment is to the protection of life and property, the preservation of peace, order, and safety, the enforcement of local, state, and federal laws with honesty, integrity, while maintaining a regard for human dignity and individual rights of our citizens. My problem with our mission statement is, first, it's antiquated. It's been there a while. And we haven't worked on it. We haven't done anything to bring it to anew. Everyone says law enforcement, one of the most evolving careers you could ever get in, right? There's a lot of cops in this room, and I guarantee you every one of them that's been in it more than 10 years will say, yes, it's very different than it used to be. Then why are we not evolving in our mission statement? See, I'm a believer that you should have a personal mission statement as well. And that's something I want to share with you right here. And it's a little bit long, so I'm going to read it because I can't memorize it. But bear with me. So this is my personal mission statement, and this is what I bring to the table. And when we write our mission statement as a sheriff's office, it's not going to be Tommy's mission statement. It's not going to be his command staff's mission statement. It's going to be a mission statement that is a buy-in from every single officer, from the brand hammer new detention officer to the most seasoned veteran. But this is my personal mission statement, and this is my challenge to every single one of you. When you leave here tonight, if you haven't written, and you have to write it, it's not a matter of, oh yeah, I have a mission statement, I have some thoughts. No, I challenge you, write you a mission statement of what you want your life to be like. Here's mine, and like I said, it's ever evolving. This will be different in 365 days. As a servant leader, my mission is to faithfully serve and uplift others in my church, my family, and my community. And this will be grounded in integrity, humility, and love. I aspire to make a lasting impact on those around me. So my priorities, my church, my family, and my community. With my church, through integrity, I'll uphold honesty, transparency, in all interactions with the church community, ensuring that trust is the foundation of our relationships. With humility, I will approach leadership roles with a humble heart, recognizing that true leadership involves serving others and valuing each member's unique contributions. And through love, I will demonstrate genuine care, compassion, and foster an environment where everyone feels loved and supported on their spiritual journey. With my family, my second priority, with integrity, I will maintain the highest ethical standards with my family, promoting openness, trust, and accountability. With humility, I will lead with a servant's heart in my home, putting the needs of my family above my own, and value their perspectives in my decision making. With love, I will cultivate a home environment characterized by love, respect, understanding, and ensuring that each family member feels cherished and valued. Community, my third priority. With integrity, I will engage our communities honestly, seeking to understand its needs, addressing challenges with sincerity and authenticity. With humility, I will approach community service with a humble heart, recognizing that collaboration and partnerships are essential for sustainable positive change. And with love, I will extend love beyond the boundaries of my own family and my own church. I will actively seek ways to serve the broader community with kindness, with empathy, with a genuine desire for their well-being. In all aspects of my life, I commit to being a servant leader who operates with integrity, humility, and love. So I write a personal statement because that's who I will be for you as your sheriff. Those are the ways that you can expect me to operate. I believe in having a hierarchy. Everything starts with a foundation. Our pastor, the first Sunday of the new year, challenged our church. And man, it's amazing how God works because he talked about our missions. What's our mission? What is our church mission? What is your personal mission? What are you doing for the cause of Christ? But then he backed it up with, what's it based in? What's it founded in? And it just aligned with the way I see the sheriff's office because we have a mission. We have a mission statement, as I said, is a little ambiguous and needs to be a little more laser focused. But it starts with a foundation of the heart. Just like the missions of our church, we have to have heart, life, hands, mission. It all starts with the heart. If your heart's not in it, your hands are useless. If your heart's not in it, your mission will fail. If your heart isn't right, your life will not be of service. And the same thing's true for the sheriff's office. We have to start with our mission at heart. It has to begin there. The why that we do everything we do. Why do we put the canines on there? It's not just a matter of, we want to go get the drug dealers. It's we want to have an impact in our community. We want to make a difference in our community. We want to bring evildoers to justice for the benefit of the community, but also the benefit of that person. The what sit on top of the heart. What are we going to do? The how follows after that. And it's a hierarchy that every one of those below has to be accomplished first before we can successfully complete what our mission is. My watch tells me that was 10 minutes. It did not feel like 10 minutes. So I want to open the floor to questions for 5 minutes.
Somebody got, Jenny's ready. Y'all be thinking of one now.
Hi, I'm Jenny McJunkin, and my question is, what is one thing that you've learned from other candidates with opposing views that you would like to work into your own plans and ideas to improve our sheriff's department?
The funny thing about running for sheriff, and we're all lawmen, is we don't have a whole lot of opposing views. I think that we all are on the same mission. Maybe our hearts aren't all the same, and maybe our how we're going to get accomplished is not the exact same. Being a member of the Pickens County Sheriff's Office and an individual, and I talked about that Tuesday, I wear a lot of hats. I went on a little bit of a tirade and mentioned a bunch of things, and then I got home and thought, hey, I left some things out. When it comes to the idea of restructuring, are there things that we could do some realignments and reassignments? Yes. We need more officers, I'll be honest. That's what we need. but I'm a training officer, so I watch for the deficiencies. And that's what my daily focus is trying to find ways that if we can't have more deputies, we have better deputies.
I got one.
Absolutely.
Why are you running as a Republican?
Well, because the Republican Party is most closely aligned with where my heart is at in my relationship with Christ.
Good enough. Somebody else. Sure. Don't be bashful. Introduce yourself.
My name's Amber Bishop. You talk about retracting more deputies. So how are you going to, I guess, retain current deputies and make it, you know, when we first came to Pickens County, we loved Pickens County. What are you going to do to make Pickens County Sheriff's Office attractive to, one, to keep deputies there, and then two, recruit new deputies?
Well, first and foremost, it's all about culture. People will work somewhere they're valued. People will work somewhere they're loved. People will work for a leader that puts them before themselves for less money. Do we need more money? Absolutely. When we talk about the salaries, though, my first goal with the salary is not, hey, let's drive them up first thing. My first plan is a little bit of equality. You know, Chuck hit on it really well when he talked about an 18-year veteran making less than a Greenville County officer. What's worse than that? We have people that work at the Pickens County Sheriff's Office for an extended amount of time that make the same as a newer officer. We need to catch up, and Greenville County has a great step pay program. That's what we need. We need to reward officers for their longevity, for their commitment to our agency. There's one thing I wanted to address with love, because I love you so much, Michael, but I actually have had other jobs as an adult than law enforcement. Through college, I worked construction. I worked for Maytag. I sold stuff for Sears. I did a lot of different things. I worked at a gym because I was trying to find out who God wanted me to be.
Can you make
Quickly,
it
we've
clear this
got
young
just a few
lady right
minutes.
here has got one more.
Miss Merrill.
Can you got time for one more? I have to flip a coin between the two. She got my
Go
Well,
quick,
okay,
Jessica.
mine just kind of goes off of hers.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
if we're talking about like salary increases, what would you think about, instead of salary increases, bonuses? Because sometimes you get somebody that's been there for 17 years and they suck, but you've been giving them these increases because that's your plan. So what about
Well,
bonuses?
my plan is
instead?
to not have anybody there for 17 years that is not a great employee. Because one thing you will learn about me, if you ask anybody, I have a level of accountability and you will be held to it. There are numerous individuals that have received failure to train letters in their file that worked a 30-year career, and it's the only one they got from me. So we won't have the guys that suck, so to speak. But I do believe in rewarding people for the things they're good at. For example, having numerous certifications for the different portions of service. See, there's all these things we don't get rewarded for currently, but a step pay system that mirrors what Greenville County actually has is a great program, because you get bonuses for having a degree, for your level of education. You get money for years of service. You get money for the different certifications that you possess. You get money for the specialized teams that you're a part of as a collateral duty. Those are all things that I think guys and gals need to be rewarded for. Thank you for that, Jessica. Is that it? Thanks, sir. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Thank you, Tommy. Let's give these gentlemen another round of applause. That was a wonderful, wonderful job by all those involved. I will say this: when I reached out to these gentlemen about coming to speak, I got instant replies, and even some of them moved things around in their schedules, their busy schedules, to make this possible. These gentlemen, they want to talk to you. They want to get their message out. They want to hear from you. Please, please reach out to them. There's a lot of elections coming up, presidential election year, things like that. June primaries coming up, and I would argue that the sheriff's race is probably the most important race that we have, just due to the level of impact this has on our communities. So thank you, each of you guys, again. Thank you, crowd, for being involved. We could have came up with these questions as a club, but you guys asked wonderful questions. I hope each of you learned something new tonight. Certainly come be a part of our group. Again, we meet on the last Thursday nights. We have events like this all the time. We'd love to have each and every one of you back to learn something more. I hope each of you learned something new tonight. Even meet some new candidates. I know Justin Durham, he's running for county council. I don't know if there's any other candidates in the crowd I may have missed beyond the sheriff's candidates, but come meet these guys. They want to be heard. They want to listen to you and hear what you have to say. Thank you all again. Thank you for being part of this tonight. Drive safe, and God bless.